next one, Grant, is I think deserves some unpacking here. So it comes from Candon 2951. Eliminate the draft and allow rookies to become free agents. Economic studies show that competitive balance is not preferred based on live game attendance, and rookies are exploited in the name of competitive balance. I'm very curious to see where you land on this. Is basically, should the NBA abolish the draft?
I think I've tried to think about this quite a bit ahead of time because I know I don't know if you and I have discussed this, but at some point over the years, I feel like we've written, or this has been an issue in the past, like just draft, yay or nay, kind of that thing has cycled through a few times. So I think at first blush, like it's objectively unusual and weird that the NBA operates this way. Whereas like if you compare it to other professions, it's like you get out of school and then you go find a job where you'd like to live and a place you want to work. Maybe you have connections there that pre-exist, like that kind of thing. Like that's how the real world tends to function. And this is just like, no, you're going to be a millionaire, except we get to decide who's paying you to some extent. And that's like a strange thing to kind of get over. It feels like weirdly like patriarchal and like almost like it's not forced labor, but it's like, you don't get to choose where you go. The number one pick in the draft that probably just made millions in college in this era can't decide. Now you can hold out, you can steer yourself places like through the workout process or whatever. Like good agents will, to some extent, get to influence where players with a lot of draft clout go, but it's just weird. So like, if you bump on that, I get it. Now, like, and then the other side of it is the other thing I've been thinking about, and then I'll throw to you, because like the draft does theoretically preserve competitive balance. And I think the changes that have been made to the lottery structure have made it so that like, egregious tanking is a problem. The payoff's not such that egregious tanking is like clearly the greatest way to go. Teams have been more careful about that, I think.
I mean, look at who won the number one pick in this past draft, Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta had no business. Like they didn't try to tank and they got, so the draft is not perfect. I think though the alternative, and maybe we're not really addressing the competitive balance and live game attendance and all that stuff, more it's like the rookie exploitation thing. I think the alternative is a little scarier to me. And I think the alternative might be so damaging to competitive balance that like it would if it's as extreme as I think it has the potential to be, whatever economic studies are saying that competitive balance is not preferred, it might like just walk over that to where it's like, what I'm talking about is everybody wants to play for the Lakers. Everybody wants to play for Miami or Houston or whatever. And if you have the ability to steer yourself where you want to as a incoming rookie, doesn't it seem like certain powerhouses would be getting like huge advantages where like who's choosing to play in, small market city of your choice if all things are equal?
So to play devil's advocate, and by the way, I think the NBA has moved, not that it was ever embracing this idea. First of all, the draft is its own like coverage process for the league. And so if you get rid of it,
that's a big element of it too.
That's like, they'll never do it. And if anything, insofar as they would ever consider it, it feels like the way that the CBA is set up, where they've like tried to limit like the amount of control players have on where they're going, because all the incentives with extensions now, and now players will like free agency is just not as interesting as it used to be. It feels like they're going in the opposite direction. I share a lot of your same concerns. And I know, so Candon is saying that economic studies show that this isn't going to impact live game attendance. My whole thing is, I know the salary cap might negate some of the fallout to where it's like, okay, if you want to go to the Lakers as the number one pick, like they're not going to have the money to give you that another team would. At the same time, like over a longer period, you might say that parity doesn't matter. And I think in any given season, like I think people genuinely liked super teams and found them compelling. And so that stretch of the Kevin Durant era Warriors, where Warriors Cavs felt inevitable, is fine. That was 4 years. If you have to go through that where it just feels like, oh, the same 6 or 7 teams, and I know if you go, it might feel like that way anecdotally. I like what we have now where it feels like so many different teams could win the title in this moment. And I don't think we get to this point if there's not a draft. And case in point would be, is Oklahoma City in the position that it is? And then like, the other thing is, what does this do to the trade market, which is another big deal of team building, because now you're never trading draft picks. So what
Right.
can you trade? Do you trade? Are you trading rookie exceptions, which I guess would essentially be the same thing? And I would also counter here, the real world, the NBA is not, I tend to be more pro player. Like, I'm not going to root for the billionaire owners in the bottom line of the league. At the same time, like, is it the real world in the sense, like, we're talking about millions of dollars here, and the stuff that seems more sketchy is getting a player like to guarantee that, drafting them in the second round to save money rather than having to pay them a rookie scale at the end of the first. But I would also wonder, let's just say you get rid of the draft. As of right now, next year, the last pick in the first round is going to make over $2 million in year one. I think it'll be like 2.2 or 2.3. Our team's going to want to pay those types of players. If they had a choice, you could say the rookie scale works out in favor for the teams a lot of the times in the lottery or whatever. And overall, it is cost controlled relative to the percentage of the cap. But could you see a situation where if there's no draft and you're the 28th best prospect, are they actually even going to want to pay you what you would make now coming out of the draft? So I wonder if this is another thing where, even if you're looking at it from the player only perspective, are we talking about like 5 guys every year that this truly impacts, to where they would have their choice of team or would have made enough money to where they'd want to take a pay cut to play somewhere else? I totally recognize that, like, this is just, I find it too integral to team building right now, especially when you look at how extensions and restricted free agency work after the draft too.
And then like zoom out a little bit, like what problems are we solving if we're getting rid of the draft? Like you would say one is like the idea that a rookie can't choose where he's going to play, and that's odd. Like, okay, is that a problem? Maybe. And then after that, is the problem we're solving too much parity? Is that what we're going after here? Like, we want a, like a Premier League situation where, like, for long stretches, 4 or 5 teams who are, big powerhouse clubs that spend the most or whatever are at the top of things. Like, so I guess if your problem with the league is, or one of your problems with the league is that we don't have enough just like dynasties with teams that seem like insurmountably good, then I guess this would probably help that. But I don't know that I think that's a problem. I think like dynastic teams kind of arise no matter what you do, because somebody always figures out how to just game the system or lucks into talent, and you have these windows where, like, Boston's in one now. Boston's been in the conference finals like 50 times, like with this group. I just don't know if I see problems that are so desperately in need of a solution that we go this route. And I don't know that this like solves anything.
Do you view this, because I go back and forth, the word exploited was used here, and I think there's something too. If you get drafted by the wrong team,
right,
like they don't develop you properly or they just don't do right, but like, yeah, that really could fuck up your career earnings to no end. It just feels like when you're dealing at this scale of money, for the most part, I don't know. Like, it just feels like the guys who are being exploited, if anything, are going to be the second round guys, the 2-way contract guys, more than the people who are being guaranteed life-changing money regardless. And I hate to downplay it in that route because it's all relative. I don't know that I feel like players are being exploited, especially when, like, these things are collectively bargained as well. Like,
yeah. I think, like, the other thing I just thought of is that you got to think about fan bases that all they have in a lot of seasons to care about is their team's draft position and who they're going to get to pick, because, like, that's the payoff for being really bad. Now, again, we've already talked about, like, flattening lottery odds means it's like there's no sure thing, but it's like if you're I don't know, if you're a Charlotte fan or a Washington fan or whatever, like, and you're going through this season and you're thinking there's no, like, we might not get any good young players in this draft cycle. Like, this might just be our team. Now, you'd have to run your team very differently. You wouldn't strip things down as much, maybe, like, and maybe that's a positive, but like, I think you lose a lot of fan attention if there's not the silver lining of a terrible season being we might pick first in the draft, or we're going to get somebody in the top 6, 7, 8 or whatever, right? Like, you lose that.
do you think would add stakes or lead it mostly the same? Where it's, I mean, kind of look like the Thunder popularized this with the Sam Presti special contracts, where they're finding these guys either in the second round or these undrafted guys, and they're turning into real players. Does this then I think it would increase the importance of like your scouting department identifying guys who are not drawing the attention of other teams, because if you're in
Mhm.
those less desirable markets, let's say, like those are the players that for the most part, even if you have all the cap space in the world, I just don't. I mean, maybe these players are young enough and it's the NBA to where like it would be more of a level playing field in a
Yeah.
rookie free agency class. But I think if you're trying to give these players more agency, I'd like to see them not have to go to college at all. Might be the
Yeah.
better solution here, which then you're still entering the pool of the draft, of course. But I just, it feels so unlikely that the NBA ever would get rid of the draft. And I think this is just kind of one of the situations where I understand it, where it's okay, this might not be perfect, but the way you phrased it just now, where it's you need every team to believe that it has a chance.
Yeah.
And I feel like this, even if you have the most competent ownership, scouting department, great team culture, this would just skew the playing field too much towards these big markets that, again, the current CBA has tried to make sure can't keep these teams together for as long as possible.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting. I mean, I don't think the draft's going away, but like there really are decent arguments on both sides of it.